Hello guys, welcome back to another video on the Stratus Forecast for the channel. I promise close to daily videos, and I'm keeping that promise. So in today's video, we're going to be going over the potential for a few more snowstorms. I'm not expecting like a huge ton of snow out of these, like these are just going to be very small systems. But we will be expecting a little bit of a severe weather threat in the south, in areas like the Arkansas, Dallas, the Texas area, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. And then there's some snow showers going on in the northeast, and we'll get into this in just a minute. So first off, we're dealing with some showers down in the south, specifically in areas like Oklahoma, Arkansas, Dallas, Texas, near the Houston area, and through Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Those clouds spread over. We'll zoom in on this a little bit. And there's actually some lightning associated with this, so it looks like we have some energy going on here. So we have tons of lightning out of some of these storms. They don't look all that intense, but a few more intense storms maybe down here. Not overly intense, but you can see a few. Over here we have a few more storms. Again, these are just your generalized thunderstorms, nothing big out of this. We got some snow happening in the Rockies, especially in Colorado, the New Mexico area, and Arizona. And then for some reason there's rain showers in the desert, which is a good thing because obviously they're dry and they're going to need some precipitation. So yeah, there's a few lightning strikes down here. Some of these are just like dry lightning, kind of just dry lightning in general. And back here in the northeast, we just had a system come through today that produced some snow showers and some more steadier snow. We even had some snow squalls that came in from behind it. We'll take a look at the watches, warnings, and advisories in a second. But right now, we're just dealing with widely scattered snow showers across the northeast and southern New England. Most of these snow showers are occurring between Pennsylvania and the New Hampshire area, and even a few flurries are happening in the Maine area. But the system is over here in Nova Scotia and the Halifax area. This will be continuing to move off to the east. Here's your watches, warnings, and advisories. So notice, so over here we have some wind advisories across southern New England. I think these might get extended a little bit. I'm not sure. I haven't taken a look at the wind forecast yet, but winter storm warnings up and for parts of New York as well as parts of Vermont as well, and those are followed by some winter weather advisories for some continuing snow showers. And we also have a winter weather advisory that is in northern Pennsylvania. Winter storm watches and high wind watches are in effect for portions of the upper plains. Well, more the Pacific Northwest, but you get the general idea. Freeze watches are in effect for California, and winter storm watches as well as a winter weather advisory for portions of, still don't remember the state, but I think it's Oregon actually. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's Oregon. Winter weather advisories are up for the Oregon area as well as winter storm watches and wind advisories and stuff like that. We have a flood watch that's up for places like, is this a flood watch or a flood warning? It is a flood watch. There's a few flood warnings in Texas right now, but flood watches are extended from about the northern, extreme northeastern Texas all the way back through southeastern Kansas, the central and north central states of Arkansas, and extreme northwestern Tennessee. And that does go through southeastern and southern parts of Missouri as well as Illinois, Utah. I don't think that's Utah to be honest with you, but extending across Kentucky as well. Also not to mention for some spots along the southern coastline, specifically off the coastline of Boston and parts of Cape Cod and all the way up through the southern coast and mid coast and down East Maine are under a freezing spray advisory. As you can see here, we have a freezing spray advisory. This is in effect from about 6 o'clock p.m. this evening until 11 o'clock a.m. tomorrow morning. Alright, so this is the CPC outlook. I just wanted to show you guys the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. We have a above average temperature widespread area expected from about the western half of the country. This includes Nevada all the way back to portions of the mid-Atlantic and northeast and all the way down to the southeast. And one particular spot on the map, far western Texas and far southern New Mexico is under this is like a 90% chance of above average temperatures. And this covers all the way back to the western half of the country, back to the southeast, covering pretty much the entire southern half of the country. And it goes as far, even clipping parts of the Ohio Valley back to the mid-Atlantic and the western half of the country. And then we have below average temperatures expected for the upper plains, Pacific Northwest, and the western half of the country. For the 6 to 10 day temperature look, we have a below average temperatures expected for the northwestern half of the country, upper plains, and the central plains, and even clipping parts of the Midwest and parts of western and for a large chunk of the western United States. And there's a above average temperature that is now extended all the way up through Maine, all the way back to portions of Arizona, and all the way down through Florida. Goes from leading above to above average temperatures expected up and down the eastern seaboard. If you're in the Northeast, this isn't a crazy thing. Okay, it's not like we're going to see 80-degree temperatures like we saw a few winters ago in mid-January or February. This is nothing like that. This is just a general La Nina pattern. The La Nina is still in phase. It's still quite weak. So again, that jet stream is going to be able to fluctuate a lot more. It's going to be able to dig. It's going to be able to trough out. And obviously, people are now saying, I've seen a lot of people saying on different YouTube channels, winter is coming to an end. I don't necessarily think so, because when you have cold air building here, again, you're going to have ridging. There's tons of cold air in Canada right now that can easily spill into the United States. It's just whether or not if we can have an area of low pressure or high pressure to drag that down to the United States. That's the only question, which it really shouldn't even be a question, because winter is clearly not over. We're in late January, and we're about to be in February. Right now it's 29th of January. We're just about there to February. Nothing really major. So again, if you're in the Northeast, we're just talking like temperatures between 30 and 40 degrees, maybe far southern areas like Delaware into areas like West Virginia or stuff like that, especially. Or North Carolina, for example, we could potentially reach 40 to 50 degrees, but we're not talking tremendous amount of temperatures here. Also with this, it brings the significant, well, not significant, but the opportunities to see rainfall or either snowfall. So again, this covers pretty much the entire United States from the western half of the country all the way back to the eastern half of the country. I'm just avoiding much of the southeastern half of the country, like southeastern Louisiana, southeastern Alabama, southeastern Georgia, southern Alabama, the entire state of Florida, areas like California, southeastern New Mexico, not New Mexico, but Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico as well. So again, the bullseye for this above precipitation is, I don't really know if I agree with this, but I kind of do at the same time, because after looking at the models into the systems that come through, we're going to probably have a severe weather day in probably Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Arkansas, and Kansas. It's not going to be a huge threat. We're talking probably an elevated risk, like nothing major. It's not going to be like a full-on tornado outbreak. But again, tornado outbreaks are always possible, so I'm not ruling out not going live tomorrow. And for the areas that will likely see near normal or below average temperatures, below average precipitation, I should say, this is really all precipitation. I'm just saying, it's not like you're not going to see any form of snow, rain, sleet, or freezing rain, anything like that, or anything above that, really, such as, like, you know, what else kind of precipitations are there? Mist, stuff like that. Near normal temperatures, and then below, there's going to be a spot, very tiny spots are expected to be near normal, and then below average I keep on saying temperatures. Below average precipitation expected for the southern, far southwestern half of the United States, and for the southeast as well as the Pacific Northwest. And with this being said, we actually have a few areas of slight risk of heavy snowfall. Again, these are just slight risks. It's kind of like a severe weather threat. It's not exactly likely, but slight risk does kind of, for a severe weather threat, kind of indicate that we're going to see some sort of scattered thunderstorms that could be severe. But this is snow. So the SPC, or the Climate Prediction Center, has indicated that we're going to see a slight risk of severe weather for interior New England and the Northeast, the upper plains, the not the mid-Atlantic, but the upper plains, the Midwest, and the Great Lakes region, especially the northern half of it, going into the Rockies and back up through the Pacific Northwest, as you can see, up to the California mountains and all the way up the east of the western seaboard, all the way up to Washington. There's indications that we could see some heavy snowfall. So first we're going to go over the temperatures, and then we will go over the precipitation forms, but I think the temperatures are on the more interesting side of things. So we're already seeing to see a big warm-up. This is pretty much covering like 55 to 60% of the United States, I'd say. Obviously, the western mountains of the United States are experiencing near around average temperatures anywhere between 20 and 30 degrees, and some spots are even single digits, if not below zero. And this also goes to the upper plains, the Great Lakes region, and the Northeast. But as we continue to go on, you'll see these temperatures kind of ride around, don't really go anywhere. But here we go. So this is the starting. So this is the warm air continuing to fill up again. Any places that have seen snow on the ground here, it's probably all gone right now, to be honest with you. But we're watching for an Arctic blast in the Northeast. It's just a matter of when. I think not today or tomorrow, but I'm thinking probably it's gone a little bit farther, so probably through the 2nd of February. This is on Sunday, this upcoming Sunday. Maybe finally getting into a little bit of an Arctic blast. This is by no means a significant Arctic blast. It's just an Arctic blast with some well below average temperatures. So, as you can see, this is what they mean. This is going through the next 6 to 10 days. This is, I would have honestly put, if I was the Climate Prediction Center, I would honestly add in parts of the eastern seaboard, especially in the Northeast, for above average temperatures, probably leaning above average temperatures, because these temperatures are a little bit above average, I think. But these temperatures will only get into like the 30s to near 40. And then finally we go back into the freezer, and then a little bit of areas of low pressure will try to sneak into the Northeast, but again, that warm air and cold air stays pretty well divided. And then here comes the ridging. We have a warm air mass followed by a low pressure system that is going to bring in these warm temperatures, obviously. And then we have cold air in the south, the western half of the country. Again, some of these temperatures are going to be well below zero, and the freezing line could extend even into portions of far northern Texas. As we continue on, there's our warm-up right there. Again, we're only talking, that's a little bit higher than I actually thought it was going to be. So we're dealing with 40s to near 50 degrees for pretty much the entire Northeast. In southern New England, we could clip 50 to 60 degrees, but I think this is a little far out, so I don't think we're dealing with anything like this. I doubt that this is actually going to happen, even though we've had winters like this. I don't think it's necessarily going to happen. So as we continue to go on, the Arctic blast fills in, and these temperatures the warm air eventually will kind of win over, but obviously there's a lot of cold air in Canada and obviously Siberia, which is going to probably try to plunge in more cold air. Here's the European model again. It's a little bit off, I think, this model. It's a little bit off, I think, this model. Again, this is not the latest model, but this is what we're looking at, I guess, for now. So again, the GFS model has warm air even up into the upper plains. It's shifted more to the east with the European model. But again, that cold air fills in, and I think the European model does a better job with things, but it's a little bit colder on the side of things, obviously. So here's our Arctic blast. This is through this weekend. Here we go, below average, well below zero temperatures for much of Maine and the Northeast, and that's especially in the interior Northeast. Then we get a little bit of a warm up. The European model is actually a little bit more aggressive with this. It says 40 degrees and around the Bangor area, and that warm air kind of spills in. Has a harder time doing so, but and then there comes our warm up. I think I agree more with the European model on this. I think 47 degrees is pretty reasonable for this. But there's that, and then there's another shot of warm air. But again, we don't really get around 50 degrees in the Northeast, especially the interior Northeast, and cold air looks to win over. A European model seems to agree with cold air winning over once again through the first or second week of February. So I don't think this is going to happen again, but obviously it's always an opportunity. All right, so now on to our precipitation. Obviously, we've had our little snow system come through the Northeast, led to a few additional inches of snow and some snow squalls on the back end. Rain developing in the south. This is ahead of our next system, which will probably bring a solid line of thunderstorms and potentially even severe thunderstorms. Again, it's not out of the woods. And because of that, I'm not sure why there's a thunderstorm risk all the way back up here in southern New England, but all right, fair enough. I would honestly get rid of that if I was the SPC or the Storm Prediction Center. But here's our marginal risk of zero, though this pretty much covers pretty much the central part of Texas and clipping into portions of far southern Kansas. Our tornado risk is relatively low, really low actually. A 2% risk probably through the central part of Texas. I don't think we're necessarily going to see any tornadoes, but it's always a potential. Wind risk is there as well. It covers pretty much the entire area, the central part of Texas anyways. There's also a hail risk. So all on board tomorrow, but obviously it's not a huge deal, so we're not probably going to expect a full-on breakout of severe weather, but obviously it's always a possibility. So here's our day 2. So I'm assuming this is for the day tomorrow. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I think the last one we just looked at is actually for today, but we'll have to see what happens. So tomorrow, I don't know. We'll have to take a look at the timing, but I think we could be live tomorrow for the slight risk of severe weather. So the slight risk of severe weather covers far eastern Texas, far western and southwestern parts of Mississippi, and basically avoids, I wouldn't say completely avoids, but kind of avoids southern and southeastern Louisiana, and then obviously I think it might clip a little sliver of far, far extreme, very extreme Arkansas, especially in that far southeastern corner. Here's the wind threat. The wind threat is also elevated. We have a 5% risk that basically covers the entire area, as the tornado risk, again, this covers, well, really, you can see damaging winds, or at least gusty winds, through pretty much, so pretty much this entire area. So you're anywhere from far western Mississippi, pretty much the entire state of Louisiana, maybe not so much far south, extreme southeastern Louisiana, but western Texas, eastern Texas, and southeastern parts of Kansas. And then the hail threat is there, again, it's a little bit more wider. That's what we typically see with the hail situations, but again, it covers much of the same area. This is day 3. This is going on Friday, right? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, yeah, I'm pretty sure. So this is going on Friday or Saturday, either one. This is when this area of low pressure is somewhere all the way up here, and then it'll start bringing snow to the northeast, which we will talk about in just a minute. Again, this is not a big system by any means. But some of that moist air coming out of the Gulf of Mexico could get up into the southeast, like not really that far southeast. Obviously weather meteorologists were talking, or at least people that cover the weather were talking about potential energy all the way up in parts of the mid-Atlantic and northeast, but obviously that's not likely anymore. But southeastern Alabama, southwestern Georgia, far northwestern parts of Florida, and I could see maybe far extreme southeastern Louisiana as well as Mississippi. And this does not have any risk on it, well, because we pretty much know that, because, well, it's too far out to really give any specifics on details of, hazards such as tornadoes, hail, or wind. So, alright, so here we go. So with that being said, again, the severe weather threat is the main picture, so it looks to get through here tomorrow, so that's what I thought. Or maybe the severe weather risk is actually for Friday. I thought it wasn't. I'm pretty sure it is, though. So, obviously, there's not really much of anything right now. But as soon as we get into the early morning hours tomorrow, I'm going to take a wild guess. It's probably between 1 and 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Showers and thunderstorms starting to fire off in the Texas area, and even extending all the way up into portions of Oklahoma and Missouri. This system quickly grabs its gears, but obviously it's a relatively weak low pressure, and this tells me that it's not a surface low. This is most likely an upper low, which still isn't great. So, strong line of thunderstorms, obviously, I don't think really much of Arkansas is specifically going to get into severe weather, and definitely not Tennessee. It's always a potential. You could see some thunder and lightning and maybe some heavy rain, but nothing like gusty winds. Well, obviously, thunderstorms bring gusty winds sometimes. So, gusty winds is not at the picture, but obviously you have to reach a certain criteria to get to the strong or severe criteria of a thunderstorm. So, it fires off. Things get interesting Thursday. Here we go through Friday. That line kind of stays together. And then through Mississippi, Alabama. I don't think Alabama is so much of a risk anymore. I kind of put that in my thumbnail yesterday because it kind of looks like a risk, but I think Alabama will basically cut that off. And then as we go into the weekend, things get more interesting in the northeast. Here's the problem with the northeast situation. You could see snow as far north as northern Maine if one situation happens. There's an area of low pressure up here that you can't really see, but this is an area of low pressure up here. Or at least, no, it's not an area of low pressure, but there's some area of low pressure up here, and there's a high pressure, both either high pressure or low pressure. This is keeping the storm system locked off from really cover the entire state of Maine, which is actually a good favoring snow, since you can have a easier time getting snowfall rather than getting mixing. But as we go through the day on Friday into Saturday, that system kind of grazes Maine with some light to moderate snow, nothing major out of that. That's that. And then after that, it becomes a little bit active in the weather department. Obviously, snow showers from a little bit of a stronger system going through the 3rd and 4th of February, and then things become a little bit more quieter. Maybe another system going through on the 6th or 7th. This one seems to stay well offshore, but obviously things can change. And then going through the 9th through the 10th of February, we're looking at another system coming through. This one's a little bit far to the north to be producing any more snow, but obviously if you had cold air down to the coastline, you'd be dealing with snow, but this kind of brings that warm air in. Mixing possible in the Maine and interior Maine area and parts of Quebec, Canada. That goes through with some rain showers trailing it, and then another system looks to develop behind that, and then potentially another one. So that's the general idea with the GFS model. The European model is kind of a little bit more on board with things. Has this system all the way over here, which actually is completely out of Maine right now. So here comes the thunderstorms. This is what I like about the European model. It has things a little bit more, a little bit more easier to see things and a little bit more like, you know, a little bit more realistic. So thunderstorms firing off tomorrow morning, just like it has the GFS model. System kind of develops. This is kind of what you would want to see for a severe weather threat, especially tornadoes. So a few isolated tornadoes are possible in parts of Louisiana, just because we're getting kind of this scattered thunderstorm. It's more of two lines of thunderstorms, but it's still scattered thunderstorms in general. And then this line of thunderstorms could even produce severe weather. I wouldn't rule that out. And then that system goes by with the, unfortunately for snow lovers in the Northeast, this doesn't look like a big system for them, especially for people that enjoy the snow, because that mixing line and the snow line is just a little bit too far south to get all the way up into Maine. But it's always a potential. It kind of grazes southern and down East Maine. But that gets out of here. Then after that, we get a little bit of another system that comes through on Monday, the 3rd. That goes through. Nothing looking really tremendous out of that system. But things become a little bit more active, and then we get a little bit of a stronger area of low pressure that develops somewhere in the upper plains in the Pacific Northwest, kind of dives through the Central Plains up through the Great Plains, and even into the Ohio Valley. That system develops, quickly races up in the Northeast, and probably gives a wind bag, a wind and rain event for the Northeast, and maybe some interior mixing. And then that system goes through. Then another system behind it. These kind of all look like a general threat for Clipper systems, and then that goes through. And then another one develops. This one kind of looks to stay offshore, the same one that the GFS model is showing. Real quickly, I just want to show you the snowfall accumulation. So here's a general idea of what you can see for the snowfall accumulation. So again, for some reason, the European model is trying to take the snow all the way back into the portions of Kansas and Arkansas. Probably not going to happen. We've already seen that scenario happen, but pretty much the entire northern half of the country is seeing some sort of snow. Probably the most heavy snow is going to be in the Northeast and the Pacific Northwest and the California mountains. But southern Maine, not southern Maine, but the southern states will likely not experience really any significant snow. So here's the GFS model. So we're dealing with a similar situation, which yeah? I'm trying to record right now. Alright, so like I said, pretty much the entire northern half of the country, but now the GFS and European model is trying to indicate it's snow all the way down in portions of northern Arkansas. I do not agree with this situation at all, because when you have warm air this far up and all the climatic center and all the models are agreeing with warm air coming up through the western half to the southern half of the states, I don't believe this at all. We'll have to see how things pan out, but western half of the country definitely going to deal with some snowfall and the mountains of California. And obviously the systems going through the Northeast will add several inches, but nothing major. Here's the GFS model for the rainfall accumulation. Again, some of this is going to fall as actually snow, but southern states and even into the deserts could see beneficial rainfall. It's always an idea. So anywhere through the Dixie Alley all the way back to Texas and portions of Kentucky especially could experience some sort of rainfall, excuse me. Here's the European model. So again, much of the same areas experiencing rainfall and some experiencing snowfall. So the southeast gets into beneficial snow, and even in the deserts gets some rainfall. I keep on saying snowfall. That will be all rain, and this will be all rain. Maybe far, again, some of the models are indicating that maybe snow all the way down into far southern parts of Arkansas, but I don't really think that's going to happen. Alright, now onto the severe weather where things get interesting. So tomorrow is the big day. So through Thursday, thunderstorms starting off in the afternoon, I think, through Friday, all the way back through. We're dealing with this long line of extended thunderstorms. So it doesn't look like widely scattered thunderstorms, but again, line of thunderstorms like this that are widely scattered like this will produce tornadoes or can produce tornadoes, and scattered thunderstorms will develop ahead of the line again. Your best chance to see any thunderstorms is going to be ahead of the line. But as we go through Louisiana, things become a little bit more scattered in nature, or kind of a line of systems. But this would more be like a gusty wind and tornado threat, and maybe some hail in there. But it's kind of too a line of thunderstorms to be really anything significant. But the HRRR model is showing a strong line of thunderstorms, even like a squall line moving through. So for the tornado threat, especially that's the big story, I guess. So things get interesting through Thursday. I will likely be live for this actually, because this kind of looks a little bit more enhanced in my opinion. And then probably through the day on Thursday as well, before things finally start to calm down. And then that's what that looks like. For the supercell composite, again, things are elevated, but they're not necessarily extreme. So I think Central Texas has a general good idea of seeing some supercell activity, anything they can develop, and a good portion of, I think really actually, this part in between these 4 states, I wouldn't even rule out the slight risk of weather getting extended all the way back through into portions of eastern Arkansas and western, especially northwestern parts of Mississippi, where we get little higher digits here. So here's a look at the energy available. So again, it's there, but it's not great. And then again, I think I would really keep an eye on this portion right through these 4 states. Kind of like what I was saying when I was not even close to accurate. I tried to be accurate now. Right in these 4 states, again, it looks like that threat seems to get enhanced a little bit, because you can see those blue teal colors in there. And then there's that. The shear, obviously, shear is good for a low-level jet especially, but here's the shear. The shear's there. It doesn't look as good. Oh, there it is right there. So here's the shear. I think, again, right in these 4 states, look at that shear environment. 40, I mean, it's not great, but it is there. So there's that. Here's the Cape. The Cape looks, it looks good, even perhaps into southeastern Texas, but really Central Texas looks to be the bullseye. And then even in through portions of Louisiana and Mississippi, again, right near those 4 corners, and then that moves through. So like I said, there's a threat of thunderstorms pretty much for the southeast. So that's all the way down, all the way through Alabama, but I really think the major threat is through eastern Texas and through Louisiana and Mississippi. I think is the big threat there, and we'll likely be live for this. This looks to go through Friday, but I think it gets interesting actually in very early morning hours after midnight on Friday, where things get interesting. Here's the shear environment, the shear available with the system, so it looks decent, but I really think those 4 corners are going to be the jackpot. Also, look at this shear extending all the way through Tennessee and Arkansas. You can now rule out thunderstorms all the way up there, especially anything that can develop up here could intensify and rotate a little bit. That goes through Georgia and Alabama. Alabama first, but as you can see, there isn't really any thunderstorms there, but that's that. Here's the energy available for the storm system. It looks good through central and eastern Texas. Louisiana and right through the 4 corners. Look at that. That's fantastic. But the energy always extends. That looks really good through the 4 states. Southeastern Arkansas, northwestern Mississippi, and northeastern Louisiana. And then that's that. So now here's the supercell composite. Here's a look at the Cape. So again, we already looked through that, but this is when another severe weather threat comes through the day on Saturday at some point. You can see a little bit through there. Nothing great. It's like a very low chance. Here's the supercell composite. Central Texas into eastern Texas. Louisiana, again, those 4 states right there. You can barely even see it, but right in here, right in these 4 states, right in this general area. And then we don't really have any further details from there on. Again, Central Texas for the tornado threat. Those 4 states between southeastern Arkansas, northwestern Mississippi, and northeastern Louisiana seem to be the biggest threat, I think, because it really all comes together right there, and it kind of makes sense because it's not really a negatively tilted trough. It's kind of low pressure system that kind of rides basically in this general area. So it would make sense for it to kind of happen around there, right around the area of low pressure or the initial warm front. So that would be pretty good there. And I'm not going to go all the way through with the NAM model to Georgia and Alabama because it's kind of a little bit too early because things can change, obviously. Oh yeah, but tell me if I missed anything. I think that's really it for this video. Again, looking at snow showers through the northeast, it'll be continuous. Clipper systems that come out of Canada and ride through the northeast, it'll be continuous like that. Rain showers and thunderstorms expected, and it's a little bit of severe weather threat for Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, potentially even extending into portions of Alabama. And we'll continue to watch the Pacific. It's really going to be driven by the Gulf of Mexico moisture that can be dragged with the low pressure system that develops in the area of Texas, and out of also the Pacific jet stream. So there's that. And beneficial rain will come out of the system, but that's really all I have for you guys today. So yeah, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay safe out there, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.